In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as tomorrow's legends.
Okay, Harley, now take your D20 and roll for your strength.
Okay. 15.
Not bad at all. You'll need that to swing the hammer, which I'm guessing you're going to be using. Okay, now roll again for your intelligence.
A 9? What does that mean?
Well, I guess it kind of was a pretty accurate roll.
Oh, good. Wait. What do you mean? Is that good or is that bad?
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, and the Maid of Mischief, Harley Quinn.
Hello. Welcome, Legendaires, to Season 3, Episode 15, Necromancing the Stone. I'm the Flash.
And I'm Harley Quinn.
Ooh, so you're about to play Dungeons & Dragons for, the first or second time ever?
Apparently. I'm not gonna lie, I did try and play once, and I struggled to get past the create the character phase.
Yeah, we were trying to talk a bit about that behind the scenes, folks. It's just, I was a hardcore D&D player when, I think I was in my teens and early 20s when I did it, so it's hard to... How do you just say it? It's hard to explain to someone the creation phase is pretty much a day in itself before you can actually get playing. So yeah, if you don't have the patience for it, it's probably not your game.
Probably not.
Well, let's get to this episode because, oh my god, did we have fun or what?
Yes, this episode was fantastic.
Oh, man. Well, let's get right to our impressions of the show. How about you kick it off with your rating? Because I think you're chomping at the bit here with this one.
I am. Okay. I gave this. Are you ready for it?
I am.
I gave this 9.75 20-sided dice.
Whoa.
I know, right?
That's one of your highest ratings ever, I think.
I'm not positive. I may have given something either a 10 or very close to a 10 in a previous season. But this episode was hands down my favorite episode of this season. I loved it. I did not get down a quarter of a point because I actually found a nitpick, which I will discuss when we get to the appropriate section. So it wasn't quite a perfect episode for me, but it was close. It was really, really close. And I don't really have a whole lot to go on and on about because I just want to jump into the discussion. So I'll just leave my opening comments there and we'll get to your rating and quick review. What did you think?
Sounds good. I'm giving it a 9, calling my shots. Whoa, this episode had it all. Chills, creeps, willies, and spooks. Laughter, emotions, tears, and sheer awesome moments. And did it all with finesse. They somehow fit all that in without it feeling like too much or a jumbled mess. Way to go, directing staff, and way to go, writing teams. Now, I know we're going to talk about it, but seriously, the coolest part of this episode I have to mention now, because I'm so excited about it, and possibly the coolest, or shall I say, giving a hint away here, the hottest that we've ever had on this show was seeing Mick get the fire totem. Man, oh man, was that awesome. Not only for the cool factor of him powering up with it, but also for the moment between him and Amaya as well. And we will talk about that more, because I want to really get into that.
Yes.
Now, I also want to lay claim to my theories coming to fruition, can I? Because Sara becoming a totem bearer and Mallus taking her over and the team having to rescue her. That's a double whammy win for old Flash here.
A little bit, and I think I've actually gotten one of my theories in there too, so we're going to have to duke it out over who won.
But I have to say, the one that I did not expect before the finale was Mallus taking Sara over, and it makes me wonder if there's more terrible duress on its way for our team.
Yeah, it does not bode well when you've still got three seasons, 3 episodes to go, and you've already had Mallus take her over once/twice. I mean, I guess technically this is the second time. So yeah.
Exactly. So
it'll be interesting.
3, like you said, 3 episodes left, and we have just, I think, really started building it up to a massive finale, and what we all know is going to be a cliffhanger, because that's what our legends do.
Yeah, probably.
All right, well, we got a tiny little bit of news. Let's just mention that real quick.
Sure.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
What do you got for us, Harley? Because I think everybody knows about it, but we got to say it for those that don't anyway.
Yeah, well, it's been all over Twitter and all over our Facebook page, but in case you haven't heard, if Legends is renewed for a 4th season, because of course we do not have the official renewal yet, but if it is, John Constantine will be a series regular.
Yeah. And of course, series regular, does that mean he's actually on the ship in every single episode, or does he just come on, for half the episodes and he's, we don't know. That whole series regular in quotation marks is, it's under debate, I would say.
I would agree. Wally, I will point out, is a series regular. I believe Damien Dark is also a series regular.
Yeah, we don't see them all the time, right?
We don't, yeah. So I think if they do it smart, it can work well, and I hope that they do.
Yeah, well, I guess we are seeing Wally every episode now, but definitely not Damien and definitely not Nora, and yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, about him becoming a full member, because that means dark magic and whatever he does is going to be involved all the time. And I'm not, I've been enjoying him okay on this show, but I don't know if I could handle him every single week. I'm not sure. I'll have to see. I'll have to see what they do with it. But, it's fun and interesting, and that proves that he's done well on the show. He's obviously got some good fanfare, positive feedback, and he's fitting in with the cast, and the writers are enjoying writing for him. There's just a lot of things working if they're already planning ahead for that. Now, I'm curious though, we haven't been green-lighted for a 4th season yet, but do you know if it's leaning one way or other? Usually there's something out there on the wire just saying, chances are good and don't worry about it, fans, and I haven't seen or heard anything myself.
There is, because I know you stay off of these websites, but there is it's not really an article, but I guess a post on TV. I think it's tvline.com, and they always tend to have this scorecard, and I've posted a link before. I think I posted it on Facebook, and I may have reposted it on Twitter. I'm not sure. But they basically go through every major network channel, and they'll say what shows have been renewed, have been, if they're official renewal, official cancels, or anything like that. And then they'll also list if your show is a sure thing, a safe bet, probably going to get canceled, those kinds of things. So Legends right now is listed as a safe bet. Flash and Arrow are a sure thing.
Right. I think Arrow actually already was renewed for 2 seasons in a row. It's Flash wasn't. We got season 7 for sure. I didn't know if Flash had gotten one yet or not, but I think Flash is still CW's leading viewer rating show, so they probably will.
Yeah, So there's nothing really pointing to any worries for our show, but if you are worried, there is a hashtag Renew Legends thing on Twitter, so you can kind of join that campaign and tweet the writers room and the @the_legends. That's the Twitter handle for the show, and @the_CW, and let them know your thoughts and how much you love the show.
Yeah,
it can only help.
Do that, because that helps. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this fantastic episode. Where are we going to go first?
Well, I am going to attempt to go more or less chronological, but you'll see a trend when things start grouping together as the scenes started cutting back and forth and back and forth.
Okay.
So let's start in the very beginning with the opening scene. That seems to be a good place to start. And Sara is having a nightmare. And I don't think this is something that we've ever seen before, at least not to my memory.
No.
And yeah, and it involves a little girl. So who we later learn, I guess, is the daughter of someone she assassinated, and that this was while she was working for Ra's al Ghul and League of Assassins. So is this the side effect of like the death totem kind of calling to her? It's like reaching into her dreams almost.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. It could even just be the fact that the totem is like in the vicinity, and its power is kind of oozing out. Because I mean, later on we see that everybody starts seeing apparitions of things that they haven't been able to get past. Regrets and stuff are coming forward, and they're not even wearing the totem. So I think it's just the totem being on the ship is emanating this negativity for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. And so that was kind of one of the things that I think I was trying to figure out was how much of this was the death totem and how much of it was Mallus,
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that was really interesting. So I think, like you said, the fact that it kind of clues us in with her starting to have a nightmare before she's even like picked up the death totem and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think that sort of clues us in that it's kind of the death totem kind of doing that work, and then maybe Mallus is trying to like capitalize on that later as he's trying to take people out.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. But another super interesting portion of this scene that we have to mention is that her and Ava, I'm not gonna lie, seem to be moving quite fast. I mean, she's already spending the night consistently, and it's only been a few weeks. They don't even know what they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know Sara doesn't mess around. She doesn't wait for nobody or anything.
That's true.
So yeah, and they got pretty passionate in the last little bit. So I think this is just the next natural step for them, and they're enjoying their time together. What I liked about
they are.
Well, they totally are. But what I liked about the scene, I love Gideon just going, "I'm sorry, Captain," and she just interrupts him. And it just makes me realize, you know what? Gideon witnesses everything on the ship. There's no hiding anything from her. She knows what's going on. So I kind of chuckled at the thought of that.
Absolutely. It kind of goes back to the Zari episode when she's like, "You're a little bit of a perv."
Yeah.
And it's true because just like you said, we don't really think about it, but she sees everything.
Totally. And then just moments after that too, once Sara gets up and gets out of bed to go to the bridge and everybody's there, I just love that Nate's like, "Well, where's Mrs. Captain?"
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that too. That means she's been spending a lot of time on that ship.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and that's okay. We all love Ava, so it's I'm totally okay with that.
Oh man. Well, since we've already started talking about the death totem, so I want to talk about the next scene, and we may start jumping back and forth a little bit here. So sorry, everybody, but I love the scene where she finally kind of, I wouldn't say gives in to the death totem, but she realizes that that's what's causing her headache, and I'm assuming she keeps hearing this like high pitched noise because that's what we as the viewers have heard, and so she basically like tracks it down to the actual death totem, and then as she opens the box, someone is speaking to her, and she turns around and it turns out she's speaking to herself, her former self. Was she just the Canary, or was she the Black Canary, or did she use both names?
I think she was Black Canary back then, because that's why they did the whole thing with her sister Laura. Oh, you used to be Black Canary, now you're the White Canary, and gives her the white leather jacket. So she was Black Canary for sure, and that was definitely her persona that came back to haunt her there. She even stated, she goes, I am you right after you died, or something like that, or right. So that kind of gave us a timing as to where she's coming from. It's like it's after she got shot on the rooftop by Thea, before she got brought back to life in the Lazarus pit. So that's kind of the ghost that's talking to her, is that dead part of her.
Yeah, which is really interesting to think about because she is a live person currently, but her former self who died is still talking to her. So that's a little hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, a little bit.
But yeah, but I liked that the Death Totem is using her past experiences, to manipulate her. And it's the way it's getting her to pick up the totem. I mean, she talks herself into it, basically, literally saying that that she's the best one to control this totem. I mean, she's so familiar with death and just, I mean, both from being an assassin and having died herself a few times, and then with her sister and everything, it's just like, you're a good person to wield this totem and control the dead.
Yeah, and I mean, she was not in control of herself at all. She was so drawn to the totem that she didn't even put up a fight at all. Like, she was asking questions and talking to herself, but I think the power just overcame her with minimal effort. She had to pick it up because of the, I guess, the strength of the draw, like everything that was emanating from the totem and just the words that were spoken from it. She couldn't resist, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I mean, she definitely picked it right up. And I mean, she said it kind of herself that 6 totems need 6 totem bearers. Yep. So someone's got to wield death. Who's it going to be?
Exactly. And she's most acquainted with it. And like you said, she's been through it.
She has.
So, who else but Sarah? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least on the surface. I do have a theory. We are going to get back to that at the I think somewhere at the very end. I've got a crazy theory here, but maybe it's not so crazy. I don't know. Because do you think that she's? I mean, I guess without jumping too much into my theory, but do you think she's going to be able to continue wielding the Death Totem after everything that happened this episode and the link with Mallus?
Well, we don't even know what happened to it, because jumping to the end of the episode there, when they finally rescue her, Ava rips it off her neck and throws it aside, and that's the last we saw of it.
That's true, so but I would assume they still have it.
Well, yeah. Did they put it back in a lockbox? What did they do with it? I mean, that kind of went unanswered. So, will she wield again? Will she I'm wondering if she's gonna, for the next episode or two, she might be too scared to wield it. She says, I lost control. I wasn't able to be in command of it. Mallus took me over. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to put you guys at risk again, because she felt really guilty and she apologized to the whole team. But there might come a moment in, say, the big finale when maybe they're getting their butts whooped and she has to put it on again. We'll have to see.
We will have to see. I think it could be interesting either way they go with it, whether she uses it or doesn't use it. I'm very curious to see how everything with this totem plays out.
Yeah, well, they have to get Zari's air totem back, because right now they only got the 5. So once they get the air totem back, then they've got all 6, and they need all 6 need someone to wield it. So if all 6 of them are together, and they're the righteous kind and they're proper wielders of the totems, then together those 6 could defeat Mallus, is kind of the direction I think is going to happen. So that's why I think it's kind of like it's the scenario, things have to get worse before they get better. And so I think things are going to get worse. And that's when Sarah realizes, I'm the only one that's not wielding the totem. Okay, I better pick it up and get on this. And then when she does, it becomes this great big, hoopla of stuff happening, because all 6 totems are there together being wielded by the proper people. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you know the cartoon Voltron or whatever. It's like all the powers come together to make one big power. That's what I'm thinking.
Like Captain Planet. That I always keep thinking of Captain Planet.
Same idea. Yeah. So,
exactly.
So yeah, we'll have to see.
That's funny. But I think we're missing a Maya's totem, right? The spirit. I think.
I said Zari. I kept saying Zari. I meant Amaya. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to. Yeah. Just wanted to set that straight real quick.
My slip. Sorry, guys. All our listeners are probably like, dang it, Flash, you dummy. It's Amaya.
Yeah. So for all of you yelling at your podcast app of choice right now, we fixed it.
I was even picturing Amaya in my head. I guess because I like Zari so much, maybe I just said her name instead. I don't know. We'll see.
A lot of people I have found are confusing the two, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But anyway,
one little thing out of like this whole scene when she does come to the bridge, it was pretty cool when Wally was asking questions and they were kind of figuring the situation out, and he's like, "Oh, so this is like Flashpoint," and Ray was like, "Yeah, kind of, I guess. Is that what Barry did?" And he goes, "Yeah." "Oh, okay." I'm like, wow, it's kind of neat how they're connecting those two storylines from the two different shows. That's.
Mm-hmm. I liked that connection, and I liked that call out because, of course, that not only may help like newer Legends viewers to kind of figure it out, but it also kind of helps Wally figure it out, and it intertwines the two shows a little bit more. So I liked that. It was a good way to think about it. Think about it as if it were Flashpoint, even though it's not really the same thing, but kind of.
Kind of. And you know what? Since I brought up Wally there, I'm going to say now, I meant to say it in my opening monologue, that I'm going to admit that Wally was actually really good this episode.
Yes.
Okay,
good.
Actually really liked him. I think he did a great job performance-wise. I think the show made good use of his powers without being too overpowerful. And we'll get to that scene, but I really felt bad for him with the ghost of Jesse that he had to deal with. It was really, really hurtful. So I thought everything around Wally was so well done this episode that I feel okay about him right now. Like I said, his performance, the way they used his powers, and the story that they wrote for his character within this episode. I thought they masterfully did it. So I was totally happy with Wally this time.
Yeah, no, he was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so before we kind of jump a little bit more into him, do you want to kind of start diving into when we figure out that Sara has been taken over by Mallus?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this was a really creepy, crazy scene, which I completely loved. And so when she first kind of gets taken over by Mallus, it's not quite exact. I mean, I guess some of us were expecting it, but maybe not everyone was expecting it. So, I mean, she has the Death Totem, and then we notice immediately that her formidable fighting skills are very enhanced. She's super duper fast.
Yeah.
And then as a bonus, she can use Mallus's magic where he kind of flings people through the air, or I guess Damien Dark's or whoever, all of that sort of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, this is interesting because it really felt like at that point that the Death Totem was the most powerful. And I couldn't tell if it was just the Death Totem or if it was a combination of Death Totem plus Mallus equals all this craziness.
Yeah, I think you're kind of leaning in the right territory there. I think the Death Totem. Yeah, it's hard to break apart. What powers does the Death Totem give? It gives the bearer control over the dead, but I think because Mallus possessed her at the same time, which is what he does with Nora, he gave Sara very similar powers to Nora. And that's what she was wielding, and then you couple that with her assassin skills. Yeah, I think it was kind of a crazy witch's concoction of abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that made her kind of a standout and giving the team a lot of trouble. I mean, none of them could stand up to her, not one-on-one.
Yeah, I know. And that's what was so crazy. Wally was kind of the second person to take her on. I mean, the first person in these scenes I was just describing that, well, it's Amaya and Mick that try to take her on, and they're almost killed for their trouble until Wally actually rescues them.
Well, how about you go right to the first one? Because poor Ray, he was hardly in this episode at all because he was working on the fire totem, and Zari and Amaya come across him later, and he is completely beat up. Like, holy crap, Ray! He got worked over and near death, because when they brought him into the medical bay, and Gideon scanned him, she's like, oh, he's got, 5 broken bones in his leg and 3 cracked ribs and and Zara's like, okay, enough, let's just fix him. Like it was an ongoing list of how badly injured he was, and I was in shock. Wow.
Yeah, I
Poor
kind
Ray.
of was too. I was very surprised at the extent of his injuries. And I guess that's our first inkling that Sarah is definitely not in control. If, in case, we had any doubts.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. Poor Ray. But,
Poor Ray.
so that's going to be the point then, I guess, when Mick and Amaya, they decide that they're, going to go take her out because that's what they do, I guess. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting. Zara's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, you got this. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, they didn't even stand a chance against her. And it was the two of them.
Mm-mm. Oh yeah, no, they didn't stand a chance at all. And
that was a point I was kind of funny because it made me realize how slow Mick's heat gun is because it always has to power up. So he's got like a 6-second delay before he can shoot anything, and that's more than enough time for anybody with any kind of fighting skill to get in there. So he was kind of useless with the gun, and I mean he made a great move when he kind of bear hugged her and tossed her against the wall, but then she made an even better reaction to the move and just kind of runs up the wall, does a flip, spins around, and takes him down right after that. I mean, there was some fantastic fight choreography in there, but.
Yeah, and that's where the speed stands out. When she does that turn, it's like immediate. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, and then what she does to poor Amaya. I mean, Amaya's doing her best, kind of standing in there a little bit, but Amaya doesn't have any of her powers at all. So she's just a normal hand-to-hand human. And she falls backwards against the table, and then Sarah just kicks her knee in, and oh my God, that's one of those things where you feel it. Just, oh, that hurt. The knee's not supposed to bend that way.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, you can tell she's hurting for sure.
Oh man, so yeah, and then after that, then like we got to what you said when Wally goes in to try. He's like, "Don't worry, I got this, guys. I'm just gonna speed in there, knock her out, tie her up, and it'll be done." And, he's all confident, and this comes to that scene where he's looking for her on the bridge, and we see a guest star who we all love from The Flash, but Jessie Quick is there.
She is. And, I've been wondering because they've been talking about her appearing on Legends for some time. And I'm like, how are they going to do this so it's not completely and totally awkward? Well, you make her appear when she's not really there.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. I love these scenes that are, I guess, scene wasn't really was it multiple scenes? I don't think it was. But anyway, it was great. I enjoyed, I guess, just the whole, I enjoyed the acting. I liked that Wally actually got some closure. I mean, he explains to us, in case we're not watching The Flash, in a quick manner, exactly what happened with Jessie, that she broke his heart and why he decided to run off and leave his family and Team Flash and join the Legends. In short, he's just trying to move on and find his place in the world. And it's just so interesting that the way that the Death Totem is working is that it's amplifying, I guess, their darkest fears. And so, but his is not really a fear. It's more of a reality because he already lost Jessie.
Yeah, fears and regrets, I was thinking.
Regrets?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because... And
I guess emotions of hurt, like whatever you're hurting from, it wants you to relive that and relive it to like its its highest state of feeling, I guess you could say. I don't even know how to word it, but it makes you, whatever you were feeling, it amplifies it and makes you feel it even more. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just trying to hurt you as much as it can.
Yeah, but this was the scene that I really commended Wally for, because he, like you were saying, he just wants to move on, and here he is facing Jessie, who he's in love with, but because the way he says it, she's everything, but she obviously doesn't want to be with him, and he was struggling with the feelings that he doesn't feel adequate enough for her, but he wants someone to love him for who he is, and he doesn't think Jesse is the right person. So he's moving on until he can find someone that he can love the way he wants to. I mean, it was a great little moment for him, and a really good maturing moment, and heartbreaking too. Like you really did feel for the guy. If you follow the Flash at all and know what he went through over on that show, it's just really culminated to a turning point for him.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I'm really hoping that they're going to close the storyline out now that he actually got some closure.
Yeah.
You know, he got to tell Jesse like what he was feeling and everything. And so I'm hoping that kind of brings all that to an end and he can start to move on.
Of course, you know, she doesn't know that he said all this, so she's going to show up at some point later on next season and be like, "Hey, I'm here. You want to go out again?" And he's going to be, yeah, you know, I kind of told you off. So.
Like, I know it wasn't you, but I already went through this. So, yeah, we're not doing this again. Bye. I don't know. We'll see. I'm guessing that was her little cameo on Legends, and I don't think we're gonna get much more, especially if he remains a permanent member of Team Legends.
Yeah, if we get any more Jesse, it'll be because of her and Harry Wells, which I really like. So that'll.
Yeah. We'll keep her over on the Flash. I'm okay with that.
But then the next person that has to deal with ghosts of their troubled selves is Zari. And I'm glad you wrote in the notes here, because I was going to ask, who is this little guy that Zari is facing? I didn't recognize the kid. I'm not sure who it was. Beran, his name was. And you've got to hear that it's her brother.
That is her little brother as a child. So we know that her brother dies later on, and I actually wasn't sure if he was younger or older. Mm-hmm. Maybe she mentioned, I don't know, but she clearly it's the same name. I think it's either Beran or Berad. So she definitely sees a younger version of her brother, and this is just so heartbreaking. And she knows it's not real, which is nice, but it's like you can't help but get sucked in. And she starts like, you know, reciting lines from the story that he wants her to read. And oh my God, it was terrible. Not like really terrible in a bad way. It was great acting. It just, you know, I felt for her.
Yeah. I mean, once again, it's Tala Ash who plays Zari. It's her performance. I mean, her emotions and the expression on her face, that brought a tear to my eye just watching her have to deal with that. She's amazing.
Oh yeah. She was great. I loved this scene. And she actually does. I mean, I think she was one of the only ones that recognized what was happening. Well, not that she didn't, like they all kind of recognized what was happening. They knew it wasn't real, but she was the only one who was able to actually say goodbye and break from it. Yeah. And she actually completed the objective that she was trying to accomplish, which was to knock out I think like some mainframe type of thing so that they could get the jump ship and get going and get somewhere off of the ship away from Sarah. But unfortunately in doing that, she sort of knocks herself out, and then Sarah kind of gets the upper hand, so to speak.
Yeah, and has her by the throat and is literally killing her. And Zari kind of breaks through to her a little bit. She's like, "Sarah, you're hurting me. And kind of breaks through for a moment there. You see Sarah's eyes change from black to blue just for a moment. But not enough.
Not enough. I mean, luckily she doesn't kill her. But no one actually knows where she is, as we will later learn through Gary's telling of the legend story.
Yes.
Oh, man. All right, well, do you want to talk about Nate then? I think he's the next one. If we're finishing.
Yeah, well, because they're all going down one by one. So this is where Nate says, "All right, I have to go do it." And you know, Amaya, I think it's Amaya that's telling him you've got to wield the Earth Totem. And he didn't want to at first, but then he finally agrees to it. Okay, I'll go find it. And we see him wander through the ship to get it. And he's unsure of it at first, but he grabs it. And the thing is, he never actually put it around his neck, so he doesn't gain any powers. And this is like the third or fourth time now that they've made a point of showing us that unless you wear it, you don't get anything from it.
Exactly. And in case we hadn't figured that out by now, they hammer it into our heads with the next scene with Mick and Amaya. But yeah, he picks up, he grabs it, and he's like afraid of it. Like he's afraid to grab it. Like I don't think he understood that he has to put it around his neck, which I don't fully understand why he doesn't understand that being a part of Team Legends.
Yeah, I'm not
Feel
sure.
like they should all understand that, but whatever. So he never puts it on. He picks it up and he kind of closes his eyes like, "Oh my God, what's it going to do to me?" And then it does nothing. And I'm like, "Dude, you got to put it around your neck. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. Come on." But no, he never gets
never
that
did.
far. Yeah, he
And-
gets distracted.
Well, he gets distracted because he sees his grandfather, which to me was a complete surprise. Not expecting that guest star actor playing his grandfather to come back again. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, okay, this is going to be hard for Nate because he witnessed him sacrifice himself out out the door of the Wave Rider into the time stream to save the team. And there he is standing there like, oh man, poor Nate. And his grandfather is kind of an ass and then just lays the beats to him. And these were not slaps across the face. These were some of the hardest punches I have witnessed on our show because my God, it sounded like he was beating raw meat the way Nate's head was sounding after those.
Yeah, the
Oh.
sound effects were pretty brutal there. But what gets me is why does he get so sucked in and engage with him? He knows the man is dead.
Yeah. Well, that's...
Like, I mean, I get it. Like, that's the whole purpose is that it's supposed to be distracting. It's supposed to draw them in and lure them over so that Sarah/Mallus can get the advantage. But I'm like, but this one was especially obvious and you still didn't back away or run away. Like, you knew what was happening and you, like, still couldn't do it. Like, I get it. But, it was just like, it was that much harder to watch because you're just like, dude, he's dead.
But
This is not real.
I think that's the power of the emotion, right? That's why the Death Totem and Mallus are drawing on the things that are hurting them the most. It's too strong. He so badly wanted his grandfather to live and not sacrifice himself, so that it's drawing on that. And to just see him there again, it doesn't matter. All those feelings come back. Then, yeah, people are weak when it comes to that kind of thing.
Ugh, man. Well, so the way that I have like the notes written down, I think I wrote this in kind of a weird order, but before we get to Maya and Mick, they're like the last line of defense. This is the point where Constantine shows up with Ava and Gary. And we're going to talk about their storyline in a minute. But just to mention this part at the very end where he comes in and he kind of distracts Sarah from killing Nate. So, yay, Nate's still alive because she totally would have completely beat the snot out of him.
She wasn't stopping, yeah.
So, Constantine shows up and kind of gets his attention. And that gives Nate time, I guess. I don't know if he gets away or...
He kind of crawls away, yeah.
Does he crawl away? Okay. Yeah. I was locked in on Constantine and Sarah. I wasn't really paying attention to where he went. But this is an interesting scene just because it really pulled in from the first season of Constantine, or I guess the only season of Constantine technically, with Astra and I haven't had time to go back and watch the Constantine seasons, but I know that they've mentioned this several times in our season already that Astra was a very sore point for him and something that he had a very hard time coping with, that he couldn't save her.
Yeah, and they're bringing it in constantly because they're trying to connect the two shows and kind of trying to give Constantine at least a bit of a history, so he's got some depth on this show. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. And I thought it was a very interesting tactic. I was like, is he falling for it? Is he not falling for it? I was like, I hope he's not falling for it. And luckily he was not. I mean, he was kind of using it to, I guess, get Mallus/Sarah/ whatever we're calling her, Astra, to trust him, quote unquote. And then he tried a couple different tactics, I guess, that normally expel demons, but if you'll notice, none of Constantine's usual tricks are working on this particular demon.
No, Mallus easily overpowers any of them because he kind of created some type of I don't know, air explosion or something and sent them all flying.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he got rid of Ava and Gary pretty quickly. And so then it's just him and Constantine. And Constantine tries to take him down, but it just doesn't work. He quickly gains the upper hand and he starts choking him before he's distracted by something else.
Yeah.
And the distraction is that Mick has put on the fire totem.
Yeah, this
calling out.
It's so hard to, because it's jumping back and forth, so it's hard to talk about it. But yeah, it was that moment that Mick wears the fire totem that distracts Mallus, because the Death Totem kind of acknowledges it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's, you know, you see the Death Totem kind of spark up, and that was enough of a distraction to stop her from choking out Constantine. So we swing into that moment now?
Yeah, let's finish that out, because that'll finish out all of the Legends versus Sara Mallus storylines, and then we can jump into some of the other stuff.
Yeah, well, so this is when Amaya, takes Mick. We got to go get the fire totem, and Mick's like, "Oh, well, Ray was working on it, and he was nuking it in the microwave, kind of thing," and leads her to it, and so she grabs it, and it basically tells Mick that he's got to wear it, and he's like, "No, I'm not a hero," and I don't want to recap the thing. It's just this moment when Amaya is trying to convince Mick that he actually is a decent man and a good member of the team. And Mick doesn't want to buy it, but she breaks through to him, and you can see it in his face that he actually really appreciates that this is being said about him. And you can see it just sink in that he is truly accepted as part of this team now, and he decides to take the totem, and and then he doesn't want to wear the necklace, which is a funny scene, but he does.
He does, but he doesn't.
Yeah, but the music and everything that's in this scene, it's such a heroic moment for Mick. It's the most amazing moment, like I said, that I think we've ever had. It's such a heroic moment for Mick, and you see, when he activates the totem, you see the inside, you see the fire within, like you see his skeletal system all kind of ignite with the power of the flame, and you see his eyes light up when he opens his eyes, and they're kind of on fire. It was such a cool effect, and I was just like, oh wow, because in the I think it's the New 52 version of the Flash comics, for those of you that never read it, what a really cool thing that they did is all of Flash's villains, like Captain Cold and Heatwave and Weather Wizard, they all had their guns, and Weather Wizard had his rod. They all basically had to use some type of tool to control their powers with. And they go and they meet some scientist guy that creates this machine that somehow combines, I don't know, it's like a DNA masher or some type of quantum splicer that splices genetics with materials, and he basically, they all put their weapons into this machine, and it genetically combines them to their bodies, and basically they all gain metahuman powers from their weapons. So Heatwave is able to wield fire with his bare hands, and that's what this moment actually reminded me of. I was like, oh wow, he's basically the metahuman version of himself now, as long as he's wearing the totem. And I just loved seeing that. It was so cool. And and you could see the wonder in his eyes when he's holding that little fireball in his hand. And it's like, oh my God, this is everything he's ever dreamed of. He's got the power in his hand. He can't believe it for himself, and he doesn't even know what he's doing. He has no idea. But Sarah comes in on the scene there, and I'm gonna throw the fireball at her. And it's so much fun. So cool.
I know. I love, yeah, I know. So I'm gonna say my piece now. Yeah, I know. I loved these scenes because with Amaya, I mean, she kind of points out something key about, she's like, you're obsessed with fire. You love fire. Like, you understand it. So I think you need that type of person, like someone who's not necessarily just craving the power, but someone who understands fire, if you will. I mean, it almost sounds like kind of cheesy, but it's completely perfect because it totally ties into his character. I mean, he's been obsessed with fire for as long as we can remember. And so I thought that this was a nice way to kind of bond him with the fire totem, give him metahuman-like powers, and also kind of turn him into the hero, because we've been seeing like inklings of it, just like the heroic tendencies and him reaching out to the team and bonding with the team and all of these great little moments that we've gotten this entire season. And you can tell it was all building to this moment where he's like, Sarah's the hero. I'm not the hero. Look at what the death did to her. He's like, I can't take this power. And, Amaya convinces him that deep down, he's a good guy. Oh, it's so good. I loved it. Loved him throwing the fireball. It was amazing.
Finally, here I am. I'm totally nerding out with excitement about it, and you're all scholarly and businesslike. Finally, you nerd out at the very end of all that.
Yeah,
You explained it much better than I did. I just couldn't contain myself. But yeah, such an awesome scene. It was so cool. And then it kind of leads into a little bit more, like another fun scene with the moving on to Ava and Gary when they go to look for Constantine.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of jumped around. We were already talking about once they brought him back, but just the scenes when they first go to get him, and Gary uses the situation to explain, "Oh, this reminds me of my D&D campaign, Dungeons and Dragons," and oh my god, because I also nerded out about Dungeons and Dragons and played it for many years. When he's describing all the characters within his D&D group and it's matching visually to every member of our team, it was perfect. I loved it.
It was so perfect. I think that was one of my favorite scenes. Like, I mean, this whole episode was fantastic, and I loved every minute of it. I mean, the stuff with Sarah was amazing. Like, I loved what Katie Lotz was doing. Like, it was so great. And then even like Ava and Gary, just that little duo, and them just like back and forth and just like, shut up, Gary, or not now, Gary. Just like every time, it just makes me laugh. And then of course, he figures out the situation by likening it to a D&D campaign. Come on. And I love that he even says, don't laugh. It's like, of course we're laughing.
Well, and the other part that I liked about it with him and Ava, I mean, yeah, she's always kind of bossing him around, and he's kind of been a bubbling goof, but I actually really enjoyed him in this episode. Just the part he played, yes. He wasn't as goofy because he actually was helpful and had keen sense of what was going on, wherein everyone else is kind of freaking out. And then there was a moment between him and Ava when she's having trouble listening to Constantine and what he and Sarah did, because she's kind of jealous and she's upset about that, and she kind of sits down with Gary and just all of a sudden starts confiding in him all her feelings and what's going on inside her heart and her mind. And he's like a shoulder for her. And that just made me realize, okay, you know what? These two must actually be kind of friends. They work together in the bureau, but they're always together. They've always been on the same team. So they must actually be kind of friends. For her to feel that comfortable to just confide in him and let him listen, and he's there for her, I thought, you know what? That was a really nice moment that kind of let us realize the strength of their friendship as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I particularly enjoyed that interaction between them. It was nice because, like I said, it went from her yelling at him to like her kind of bonding with him. And I don't know why, but I've always gotten the impression that he's her assistant.
I think so, yeah. So
okay.
They're always working closely together.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of makes sense that they, tend to have that, oh, Gary, don't say that or do this or, whatever kind of bond, or not like bond, but, that's like their relationship. But really, they're like more bonded a little bit more closely. Like they have a little bit of a friendship because they spend so much time together, and he's always, doing stuff to help her out and all those sorts of things.
Exactly. He's very selfless. He always does everything to help her and puts everybody ahead of himself. So he's actually a really nice guy, really.
He is. I enjoy his character. I really do.
But I have to ask, do we think he likes the boys and not the girls? Because there's a moment when Constantine kissed him and he had this jubilous smile on his face, and Ava kind of smirks like, Gary liked that. And that, I had no idea that maybe Gary was, interested in the boys. So I thought, wow, that's also something new.
Yeah, I didn't see that quite coming either, but I thought it was pretty adorable. It was just like the look on his face. He's just like starstruck almost. Like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I can't believe that just happened. Like it was just, I loved it. I loved the way
exactly.
the actor played that. It was fantastic.
And like I said, the way Ava looked at him, it's like she knew that I maybe either had a crush on him or something, and he just got one of his wildest dreams come true. So she kind of just like smiled, like, "Ah, Gary liked that."
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
That was a pretty cute scene.
yeah.
Um,
But then coming to what he was saying, like I said, he was actually very wise and helpful because he's describing the situation and telling them, according to his D&D campaign, everyone in his game died
mhm.
because they didn't work together and stick together. And he's trying to tell them, like, the legends have to stay together or they're going to die. And what happens? They all break up, and one by one, Sarah's taking it to them.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just, it was, I love the way that they kind of weave that in there and gave him a little bit more of a purpose other than just comedic relief.
Hmm.
It was a nice development for his character, if you
Exactly.
will allow me to go there. But before we kind of move on from these storylines, I want to talk a little bit more about Constantine and the totems.
Okay.
Because when they track him down, first of all, he's like, yeah, I told Ray to kill her if that ever happens. And he was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, he
We're
was so
not.
nonchalant about it.
She's like, we're not killing Sarah. That's not an option. We're not doing that. And so she's like, well, she's bonded with the death totem. And, then he's like, oh no, like, this just takes it to a whole nother level. And he tells us that the sixth tribe of Zambeze wasn't trying to imprison Mallus. They fought for Mallus against the other five totems.
Yeah, they actually joined Mallus.
And that was a very key distinction. And
Hmm.
this is where I wanted to say that I think it plays into the theory that I had last week that the Darks and Mallus actually wanted Sarah to find this totem because they knew it would call out to her and then Mallus would be able to take her over if she bonded with it.
Well, it's a sound theory, if even only in the fact that they want to use her, knowing that she could take out the rest of the team for them
Exactly.
as well. So
Yeah, which I wonder if that wasn't the original intention, he was gonna go on a killing rampage and then it just never really worked out. Maybe because Sarah fought back just enough that he couldn't kill everybody.
Well, we'll have to see if that plays out. It still just bugs me that they didn't give us even just a 2-second clip of showing the Darks do something behind the scenes just to tip us off that that's what's going on. That's the only part that bugs me, that makes me wonder.
But do they? Because Nora, maybe we should jump into these scenes because Nora appears in the spirit realm with Sarah and they have several chats. And
Yes.
a lot of what she's saying is she's basically trying to convince Sarah to join Team Mallus. And so I think that's kind of where I was going, that maybe this was the intention all along, that they already knew that there was a connection with Mallus and Sarah, and they knew that Mallus was bonded with the death totem already because it fought for him previously. And so I thought that maybe this might be a little wink and a nod towards that theory.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, well,
It's just my personal theory. It may not ever be confirmed ever, but
no,
it
fits in and it makes sense. I'm just thinking about that, like they're in that realm, whatever you want to call that, Mullis's area, and Nora is talking to her, and I think like you're definitely right there. In that moment, Nora is doing her best to win Sarah over and make her fully give in and be part of the team. So that now, whether your theory is why she's doing that, or they're trying to take advantage of the situation that they actually see what's happening. But the fact that Nora's there, it's like, well, how does she know?
Mm-hmm.
which kind of lends credence to your theory. How does Nora know that Sarah's there? How does Nora know that Mallus took over? Well, I guess it could be because Mallus takes them both over, so they're linked somehow in that sense as well. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think at any time, I mean, maybe Mallus is possessing them both at the same time. I mean, we don't know. He could be. I don't know. It kind of worked that way a little bit in Daddy Darkest, where he had them both. So
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know. It's really
That's true.
interesting. It kind of speaks to how powerful he is. But
Yeah. Well, and then that little bit that you have here where Nora claims that she was never a sweet little girl after Oliver killed her father.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that obviously Nora's been messed up for a long time. Even though we saw some scenes back in the 60s there when she was a young girl, I guess that kind of necessarily isn't so much I don't know what I'm trying to say. Even though it seemed like she was a nice girl back then, like they could have saved. Maybe that was just a moment or two, but she's admitting that she never really was, unless she's just using that as a way to trick Sarah. Like, don't worry, I was never a sweet little girl, so join me.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's just that she's so far gone that or kind of embraced it,
Mhm.
or if it's almost a little bit of a denial, because definitely over the last few episodes, you could see that different parts of Nora were coming out that maybe hadn't been to the surface in a while because she's been possessed by Mallus for so long. But then being able to reconnect with her dad, she was kind of turning a little bit more back into maybe who she was before he died. But then Mallus totally took her over at the end of, was it 2 episodes ago? And her whole demeanor changed. So I can't think that there's something there where maybe she's almost in a state of denial, or maybe at this point she's just too far gone.
Yeah, see, it's so hard to say because that episode when she was back in war-torn Germany with Ray, we saw glimpses of her possibly being on the good side, or being nice, or being friendly. Like there was moments between her and Ray that led you to believe she might not be fully gone yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Because
yeah,
remember we were theorizing about she might possibly turn against Mallus and her dad in the end, and then we also guessed, Damien might be the one that turns against Mallus to save his daughter. There's so many different possibility and angles, right? So
yeah, there's a lot that they can do with that. I mean, just because at this point she's kind of given into it doesn't mean that'll be that way forever. But
yeah,
I mean, that's an important distinction to make. And I think that's what she's trying to talk about, is that the darkness is always has been in her and Sarah. I mean, Sarah was an assassin and she was lost for a long time. And then, Nora is Damien's daughter, and his death sort of drove her into the darkness. But I think the difference, especially right now, between the two of them is that she's kind of given into the darkness and the power that Mallus can offer. But
right.
Sarah's trying to defeat hers, and she is trying to cling to something that to her is more powerful than a life free of pain and regret, as Nora says. And I think that's Ava.
You are Harley the clairvoyant tonight, because you are definitely bringing clarity to everything that's going on. So good job.
Thanks.
You're explaining it far better than I am tonight.
Oh, well, I have my moments sometimes. All right, well, then do you want to talk about the scene where Ava brings her back to Earth, so to speak?
Yeah. Once again, Ava is the one to save Sarah, and it's quite an emotional moment because Sarah's almost gone, and Ava's in tears and banging on her chest, and come back to me, Sarah. I'm here for you. Come to me.
I know. They're a great couple. I like them together.
Yeah.
I was very saddened by
how
the
ended.
ending scenes. Yeah, I can't believe she just I get why she broke it off. I mean, she's now more than ever remembering, I guess, her inner darkness. I mean, she hasn't had to deal with that in a while. She kind of had put that in the past after she put all that like bloodlust stuff kind of to bed, you know. We haven't dealt with that in a long time. And so that was interesting to bring that back.
And this is also part of what I said, things have to get worse before they get better. And I think even though Sara was starting to see light and starting to see a possible new future with Ava, and she could have a relationship and she can be happy, she can't have that yet until she deals with her past and finishes that off, because it's kind of has been swept under the rug kind of thing and not fully finalized or dealt with. And now it's been thrown right back, if fully in her face, and it's bringing up a lot of emotions and a lot of past garbage that she's got to deal with. Mm-hmm. And she's reacting to that emotionally, and that's why she's kind of turning Ava away, and not in the nicest way. Like, she's in her heart, she's feeling, I can't deal with this. I got too much garbage, too much stuff. I'm too much, luggage I'm dragging around, and I don't want to bring you down with me. And so I think Sara she's got to get past this point. She's got to deal with this darkness and get it out of her system before she's going to be able to continue moving forward to a positive light with Ava. And Ava, I think, is not ready to accept that yet. She's not at the point to fully understand it yet.
Oh, definitely not. She's just kind of hurt. I don't know. I think there was a little bit of regret on Sarah's face at the end there.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I think she regretted her words after she drove her away.
Yeah, because Ava went through the time door, and Sara turned around like she was about to say something, and too late. Too late. But man, let's talk about even that scene though. Like, we're analyzing it, but let's dive into the emotion of it, because oh my God, Ava, that actress, she made me cry. It was so heartfelt, so heart tugging. It hurt. I felt so bad for her. That was not a fun scene to have to watch and see how much hurt she was suffering because of that. Oh,
I know, it was heartbreaking. A heartbreaking way to kind of like end that, because they started in such a good place at the beginning of the episode, and then at the end of the episode, it's complete turmoil. She's walking out, and they broke up and weren't even sure what they were yet.
No, talk about bookends that are completely opposite on this episode, man. It was.
Oh man, crazy. All right. Well, I wanted to give an honorable mention to the closing scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious that I guess Gary recruits Constantine to come and play D&D. And so he basically is accepting his mission. And I thought that was a clever nod from the writers to tell us that he's going to be back to help our team.
Yeah, that was a neat way that they wrote it in. But it was also a fun way too Gary's sitting there in his wizard's robe, and he's fully playing the dungeon master and, explaining the situation, and at the music that was in it, and the way, this guy who plays Gary, I would want him to be my dungeon master. I would fully go play Dungeons and Dragons again if he was leading the campaign, because oh my God, he had such amazing vocal talent. The way he spoke the story, I would love to listen to him narrate a story as the dungeon master, the way they do when you play. And I just, it was such a cool scene. The music transitioned from the Sara and Ava breakup right into that. Mm-hmm. What a way to finish it. And then of course the end with a joke with Constantine rolling the die and whatever. But yeah, it was just fantastic. Such amazing direction in the way this story just weaved its way through all the emotions from start to finish of this episode.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready for my crazy theory?
Oh, you got a theory here? Okay.
I do have a theory here about Constantine.
Yeah.
I think that if he does come back, that maybe he will be the one to wield the Death Totem in the end.
In the end of this season?
Mm-hmm. Because who who better to hold dominion over the dead than John Constantine, who's already dabbling in the dark arts and playing with people's souls and death and all sorts of things. He understands it almost more than Sara does.
Well, I was just going to say he understands it better than anybody else, way more so than Sara. Sara may have experienced death and that sort of thing, but she hasn't studied it. Constantine has studied it. He knows what's going on. He's got all the incantations and everything. Like, yeah, that to me is far more plausible than any other theory. I really like that one. That I will jump on that ship for sure, even if it's sinking. That, I think, is a fantastic idea, that Constantine will get the Death Totem in the end. Because as far as I know, like, he's supposed to be in 3 episodes this season. This was his second appearance, so we know he's going to be back for the finale, is what I'm guessing.
That's what I'm guessing, too. He's got to come back.
And the Death Totem got tossed aside by Ava, so maybe he picked it up. Who knows?
Who knows? Like you said, we don't know exactly where that is right now. So
no. Well, that's it.
That
was the whole episode, and yeah, I apologize for my kind of rambling nonsense. Yeah, I'm glad you were providing clarity, Harley. It was fun. I was very excited about it, and I actually didn't have time to write any notes, so we were definitely flying by the seat of my pants here. Your well-written notes.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I love this episode. I couldn't find much wrong with it.
Well, let's move into our nitpicks, because we did end up finding something wrong with it, and I think we're kind of feeling the same.
We are.
All right, here we go.
Form of water.
You kick it off. I'd love to hear what you got to say.
Why didn't Nate turn into steel? It drove me insane.
Oh my God.
Drove me nuts. Like, I get his hesitation in not wanting to put on the Earth Totem, I guess. I mean, assuming that he knows you have to wear it around your neck, because, you know, he did see what it did to Annie, Blackbeard's little girlfriend. But why, at the very least, when he's getting the crap beat out of him, doesn't he at least steel up? That drove me nuts. But that was where I knocked off my quarter point from.
Well, we'll just roll right into my nitpick, because I'm with you on that one. I had a major and a minor one. That is my major nitpick, and I believe it was Patty Spivot's as well, because she was freaking out while we were watching it. Steal up! Why not steal up? He never steals up. Not once did he use it to protect himself, or when going into a dangerous situation. He would have been protected if he had steeled up. And we also haven't even seen him steal up for quite a while now. It's been a few episodes since we've seen it. So what the heck?
Mm-hmm. Why? And there have been some good uses for it.
Exactly. Why, when you're going down a dark, creepy hallway with a crazy assassin possessed by a demon on the loose, would you not steal up for protection? Like, it was unbelievably dumb, I don't know, writing error or what their reasons were, but oh my God, not acceptable at all. My minor nitpick is please stop with the Bebo already. It's just not funny. Get him off my show. I don't want any more Bebo mentions. It just brings me back to a very dark place of my own. That's my personal horror. Oh,
was not a huge fan of Bebo either, but I have this just like funnily feeling that he's going to be a recurring thing, like a recurring joke. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I thought the Bebo socks were terribly amusing, and just because it was like no one cares about Bebo. He's like, well, clearly his Aunt Stacy does.
I appreciate that Gary was wearing the socks, as nerdy as he is. I get it. That was fine, but no. Bebo's not funny. He never was.
I don't know. I would have liked to have seen Constantine's little session with him when I forget exactly what he said. He said he got drunk one night and he cast a spell on him or something.
Yeah, just to make him talk. Yeah.
Yes.
Too funny.
It's pretty funny.
All right, let's move into quotes of the week. This, I don't know, this episode, it was hard to find a lot of funny stuff in it, even though there was a few things, but
It was darker humor, more sarcastic humor. It was definitely a struggle. There's a lot of snark, a lot of sarcasm. There was not anything that was just like funny. I mean, some of it kind of was, but yeah, so it's going to be an interesting, funny section, I think.
I still think we got some good stuff. But before we get into that, who won last week's funny quote?
The winner last week was Suit Up.
What? Why are you staring at me?
You know, waiting for you to do the thing you do.
What thing?
You know, you usually send us into the field with a little more pizzazz.
All right, legends, put on your Sunday best because we are going to church.
It's pretty good.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. There we go.
That was a nice follow-up this week with her having the headache, and she acknowledged it. She's like, no snazzy send-off.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, it's just, I'm not doing it this time. Just go.
pretty fun. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think you still got some good ones in here. What are we going to start off with this week?
Let's start with things you can't unsee.
Where's Rory?
Molly, wait. Nice robe.
Who dressed me?
Me. FYI, Heatwave sleeps in the nude.
Yeah, tried to warn you, kid.
See, that's pretty good.
That was a good scene. There was a lot of them in the very beginning that were just like short little things that were pretty funny.
Yeah,
like
I like that one. All right, what's number 2?
snark.
I gotta go after him.
Just be careful out there.
If I'm not back in 5 minutes,
Stay longer.
no, come rescue me.
That's what I'm talking about. I love stuff like that. That's super snarky and sarcastic, but it doesn't always play off as funny.
Oh, but Zari is a master of the snark. She's awesome.
Between her and Nate, I mean, man, you know, I gotta have one or both of them in there at some point. And then Constantine on top of it, like, I can't handle all the snark, y'all. It's gonna be bad. So be ready for some sarcasm for the rest of the season.
Well, I think your number 3 probably made a whole lot of a different universe of fans get excited when this one came up. What's number 3?
Master of the who?
There isn't exactly a paint-by-numbers spell for locating a spaceship floating through a temporal stream. My business card says Master of the Dark Arts, not Dr. Woody What's-His-Face.
Who?
Who?
Exactly.
What a sneaky way to get that in without getting in trouble. That's funny.
That was very funny.
All right, what's the last one wrapping it up this week?
The last one is Tumbled Zari.
Right. The fire totem's our last chance to defeat her.
Oh, and here I thought escaping to the jump ship was a good plan.
I don't care what she's done. I'm not abandoning Sarah or anyone else on this team.
Well, too bad. You're down a leg and you look like a cat stuck in a dryer.
It's not funny, I love cats.
I'll wield the totem. Let's just get to the lab.
That's a good one.
A cat stuck in a dryer.
It's not funny. I love cats.
Yeah, she's I love Meg. He just doesn't care.
I know. He's so funny. So you're down a leg and you look like a cat stuck in a dryer.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we got some good ones. Let's move into serious scenes, shall we?
Yes. Do you want to tell us what our winner was last week?
It was Life is Short.
Better make yourself comfortable. Something tells me you'll be spending a lot more time in here, especially after that show you just put on.
Something came over me, I guess. I was up there looking at those ghosts. I realized one day this is all gonna be over for all of us. Might as well get the most out of life that we can.
You know what? I think you just discovered the spirit of rock and roll.
I think everybody was kind of personally touched by that one.
Yeah, it was a good quote. I liked that moment in general. It was very good. All right. Well, what do you have in store for us this week?
Well, I think I found some good ones, some pretty awesome moments. I managed to pull 5 this week. I got like 4 normal ones, and then 1 I just wanted to throw in for a bonus. And you guys are welcome to vote on this one as well, but I wanted to add it in because it's just such a cool moment. So this week we are starting off with one called True Calling.
This is the Death Totem. It yearns for a new bearer. Imagine all you could do with dominion over the dead. You could banish that little girl from your dreams. Bring back your sister. I'm no totem bearer. You've conquered your demons. You're strong enough to wield it. Pick up the totem, Sara. It's the only way to defeat Mallus. The 6 totems need 6 totem bearers. Who else on your team was born to wield death?
Ooh, you could feel the hair on the back of your neck standing up with the tension rising on that one.
I loved that scene.
What a way to kick off the episode. When that was happening, and that's in the first 2 minutes, you realized, uh-oh, we're in trouble this time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. It cannot be easy to play off of yourself like that, playing yourself as 2 different characters. I loved what Katie Lotz did this episode. It was so good.
Yeah, she was cool. I wonder what our friend Kevin, the podcast overlord, thought of this one. His darling Sara becoming so evil and nasty. Where are you, Kevin?
Know.
Chime in.
I know. We'll have to get his thoughts. All right. Well, what do you have for our second scene?
It is called Slow Decision for a Speedster.
Wally. Hey. Never thought we'd see each other again. You look good.
This isn't you. You're not real.
You sure about that?
Yeah. I've seen apparitions before.
I remember the first night I said I love you. We were in the backseat of your car. You acted like you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, because I couldn't understand why someone like you would love me.
Why not?
Oh, come on, Jesse.
Wally, you're a good-looking guy. Great smile. I know you've had girlfriends before me.
None of them are you. You're everything. You're like an actual genius and family you come from, and then
You're just a speed junkie with a drug addict for a mom? I wonder why it didn't work out between us.
So you're just here to hurt me? Well, you can't. I'm actually glad that you broke my heart. I traveled because of you. I found some kind of inner peace. I made new friends. One day I'm gonna fall in love with someone, and that person isn't gonna be you.
Yeah.
Oof.
Good performance by Kenyon there, because you could really feel what he was feeling. He was hurting.
Yeah, no, that was a great scene. I enjoyed that scene very much.
Yeah, way to go by.
All right. Well, what is our third scene?
It is. I should have saved this one for the end, but it's I go in chronological order of the episode. It's called Born to Burn.
This totem wasn't meant for me. You have to use it.
Forget it.
You spent your entire life obsessed with fire and heat. What if this is the reason why?
How many times do I have to tell you I'm not a hero? Sara's a hero. And look what the Death Totem did to her.
That was the work of Mallus. Most people who've seen what you've seen would have succumbed to darkness, but you didn't. You chose to become a legend. You may try and hide it, Meg, but you're a good man.
What if you're wrong?
There's only one way to find out.
Wielding a totem's bad enough. Now you want me to wear a necklace.
There's no time, Meg.
See? Doesn't work.
I combined two scenes. There was actually a scene in between him getting the totem and wearing it, so I actually just combined the two because you had to. That music.
You needed the end, yeah.
You needed the end, but that music, I have never heard such heroic music played for any of our characters. That was so cool. That was his moment.
Yep.
It was so cool. And then at the end there, when he ignites and becomes all fire, and you just hear Amaya going, "Whoa!"
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. Good. Oh, I loved it. That just gave me all goosebumps and chills just listening to it again.
All right, what is our next scene?
Next one. I'm sorry, guys. We talked about it, but this one is called Canary Cries.
We need to talk. No good conversation ever started that way.
Ava, I'm sorry.
Listen, I can't pretend to understand what you went through or what happened to you, but I know that wasn't you, Sarah.
That's just it. That was me. Just like fire is to Rory, there's part of me that it's always been there. And I really tried to pretend that that wasn't true. But deep down, I am death.
No, Sarah, okay, so we can fight that part of you together. Just tell me what to do.
Ava, you read my file.
But I still showed up at that restaurant in that horribly uncomfortable dress trying to impress you because I don't care about your past, Sarah.
Well, maybe you should. You are wonderful. And I've never been this happy in my life.
But this doesn't look happy.
Look, I don't deserve you.
Yes, Sarah, yes,
you
do.
No, Ava, I don't. You deserve better. You deserve so much better. And I care about you, but I'm not gonna do this. I won't.
Sarah.
I'm sorry.
Man.
Sigh.
That Ava is amazing for Sarah. And you know what's really kind of interesting and fascinating? You know, or do you remember when they first introduced her, how much everybody hated Ava?
Yes.
And look at what they've done to this character. They have completely turned her around where we all love her so much. That is amazing writing.
It is. It is.
And
they
performing.
did the same thing. Yeah. It was the same thing with the HR character on The Flash. We hated him when he started, but he came around.
But just way to go on the acting on her part too. I mean, that was some heartfelt tears that were coming through. Just amazing.
Oh yeah, no, she was great. Her and Sarah both were great.
Well, my last one. This is a bonus clip, and it was so hard to find the break in it because we go from our last clip right into this one. And this one's for fun. You are welcome to vote on it if you want. Like I said, I loved his storytelling. I want to play D&D under this guy. This one's Dungeon Master Gary.
Fresh from a successful crusade, our team knew the fight was far from over. In fact, the true battle was only just beginning. In order to defeat the demon and his cabal of evil, we need to be at full strength, which is going to be hard given the losses we sustained on our last quest. Some wounds are so deep, they never truly heal. So the question is, are you prepared to join us on this mission most deadly?
So cool.
It was good. I liked his telling, and I liked, like I said, I just loved that they wrapped like the whole point of the story and our season into like two little quips about D&D. It was great.
It was so great. And what was really nice about that moment too, because as he was telling his story, they were showing us different clips of our team throughout the ship and where everyone was at, what they were feeling. And it just matched his words so well. And the fate of our team and what's coming ahead for them matched his mission and what he was describing. It was amazing. This was probably the best written episode of the season, I would say.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And that was, the D&D stuff was just a fantastic metaphor for the whole season, and especially for what was going on this episode. But I think especially at the end, I think it's a little bit foreshadowing for the things to come.
Exactly.
I liked it.
And I cut off the Constantine bit at the end because I didn't want a joke to end it. I loved the moment and the mood that it set. I didn't want to include the joke because I felt that kind of broke the mood at the end. So there you go.
Yep.
Let's move into feedback.
Feedback.
Planetary powers, activate!
All right, guys, we got in a few voicemails this time. And we are going to kick it off with Green Butterfly. Here she is.
Hi, this is your eye in the sky green butterfly. Guys, they shrunk my ship. I was so worried about being super scared of this episode, and wound up being super sad instead. They sunk the Avalanche ship. It makes perfect sense, though. It really does make perfect sense. After everything that Sara did under the influence of Mallus, she feels so bad, like she's not worthy of something wonderful like Ava. I mean, she's the captain, and this is her team, and she attacked each and every one of them. But she is so strong. Not just brute strength, but mentally. The way she was able to fight Mallus off and have moments of clarity. Absolutely amazing. And it would make perfect sense that she could wield the Death Totem. I mean, our Sara lived in the world of the dead for a long time. She was gone for a long time before Laurel put her in the Lazarus pit. And Sara broke Mick's gun. But it's okay because now he's wielding the fire totem. What a fantastic episode. Scoring 10 out of 10. Sweet love notes that end up heartbreaking because of the moment in which they are found. By the way, guys, I really love those little skits that you open the podcast episodes with. They bring me so much joy. So cute and funny and creative. Have a super week. Green Butterfly out.
Aw, thanks, Justina. You know what? Since I posed the question, a few of you have come forward to let us know that you enjoy our little opening skits between the music and intros. So we appreciate that. That makes us feel better. That makes us want to keep doing them, become more creative, and have more fun with it. So thank you for that. I like how she always pieces things together. Our green butterfly is so wise. No wonder she's flying around in the sky looking over us all, because she always just puts things together in such a neat little package. And I like the one thing I picked up on this message was that she really understands why Sara breaks it off. Even though she doesn't like it, she really understands why. And I think Justina is really connected to Sara for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And I agree with her points. I mean, I get it. And that's why I said one of the reasons that I love this episode was everything with Sara and the way that they connected her to the Death Totem. I mean, I agree. It made perfect sense. And she's also vulnerable because of the Mallus connection. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes on in the future. So I like that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. And next we have an email from Karina Lucas. Take her away, Arlie.
All right. She says, "Hey guys, what an amazing episode. I absolutely loved it. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It was perfect." Us too. It was time for Katie Lotz to shine once again, and oh my, how incredible was she. I don't think Sara is free from the Death Totem, but maybe next time she'll know how to deal with it, and they'll put all 6 totems together and we'll defeat Mallus. Perhaps.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Perhaps.
Now I understand what the writers were doing to Mick. He deserves to be the fire totem bearer because he's grown a lot and deserves to be trusted with something this important.
That I really like. Yes, he deserves to be trusted with something.
Yeah, I agree. And he understands fire. It makes perfect sense.
I'm surprised we never mentioned it. In all the previous episodes, we never even thought of connecting the fire totem to Mick. We talked about it so many times, and it never came up.
Well, because for like the first half of the season, I was under the impression that it was destroyed. And then, 2 episodes ago, we found out it wasn't destroyed, but then it wasn't back together. So I was like, well, I don't even know if we can put it back together. And then, apparently Ray did so. So now he gets the totem.
And actually, I forgot to mention that during our talk. Ray actually built a cold fusion generator. Like, are we forgetting that he has that? It's something that's never existed before, and yet he's got this little microwave-sized version of cold fusion.
Super cool. I have no idea how remotely realistic or unrealistic that may be, but I guess since cold fusion doesn't exist, it doesn't matter.
It's still so super cool and so Ray. I love it.
It was great. All right. She continues, how cute are Ava and Sara together? Yeah. Ava being jealous of Constantine was really funny, especially when she gave him only one finger to make the spell. I love that was really funny.
That was hilarious.
And then she grabs his hand after things kind of got a little bit more real, if you will. I loved him saying Sarah's a keeper because she is. I know, I thought that was very cute.
Yep.
So when Sara said to Ava she's never been this happy in her life, I almost died. First, because we've never seen Sara falling this hard for someone. And second, because I was crying already knowing what was about to happen. Those of us who follow Sarah's story since Arrow know that she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders, not unlike Oliver, and that she thinks she's not worthy of happiness. But she's very worthy, and she will be happy. I'm positive she and Ava will work things out soon.
I can't. Are you at all worried that something might happen to Ava in the end when Sara decides that she wants to be with her and we lose Ava? Do you think they would do something like that?
I don't know. It hadn't really crossed my mind, to be honest. I've kind of I have a very different thought process that I can't divulge on Ava right now. So okay. I think it could, the end of this season with her, it could get very interesting, I think. But I don't really know how to explain that further.
Yeah, well, I mean, even just calling back my theories about her and possibly being, a different character from our last podcast. So yeah, we'll have to see.
That's true. That's true. We've both got some Ava theories, so we'll just have to see what happens with that. All right. Well, on with Karina's feedback. I loved the smile on Gary's face when Constantine kissed him. He's growing on me, even if he wears Bebo socks. By the way, Constantine's on my blacklist for putting a spell on Bebo to make him talk and be the main character on the worst episode of Legends.
Uh-huh.
Is that what happened? I thought he was just saying, like, at some point he put a spell on him and made him, like, talk to him.
Yeah, she might have a little mixed up there. I think he, because Bebo is a talking doll, that's why he was the popular kids toy. But I think he only had a few phrases that he said over and over again. So I think Constantine put a spell on him to allow him to talk more and, actually be like a speaking being. But I agree with you. Worst episode ever. I am so glad you're with me on that, Karina.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Next week, we'll see what's the truth about Ava. Oh, I watched the trailer, and it seems really interesting. I can't wait. She's not wrong. It does seem really interesting. Anyway, one more thing. I never talk about the directors, but I love April Mullen's job, and I think she did a fantastic job on this episode. I hope she comes back next season. I gave this episode. Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. If you want to comment on the director, I've enjoyed the direction and the writing. I really enjoyed the writing this season, but the directing has been top notch as well.
Yeah, well, we don't really relate who directed and who wrote and all that kind of stuff, but we do send out, high fives, commend them on their job when they did as good as they did with this episode. So April, yeah, you're awesome.
I know, it was great. She gives this episode 10 spare feet instead of a cell phone. Until next week, Karina.
That is 2 10 out of 10s. Wow.
People are in line closer with me than with you on this one.
Well, I gave it a 9, so I'm not that far behind. Yeah.
No, I almost gave it a 10, but I had a nitpick, so I had to knock it down.
Yes. Well, thank you, Karina, as always. Good feedback. Next, we have a voicemail from Patty Spivot, and she sent along with her email voicemail. She sent along a warning. She said, flash style long feedback. Ha ha ha. So, Harley, get your notebook out. We might have to write down a couple things you might want to address as we listen to this.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's Patty.
Hey, Flash and Harley, it's Lisa calling in, aka Patty Spivot. Holy episode this week. Oh, it was so good. Sara is so terrifying. Oh my gosh, I'm glad she's a good guy. There was a lot going on this episode. I mostly was struck by how badly our team decided to fight against Captain Lance when she turned bad. They all made really terrible decisions, especially Nate. He was driving me crazy. Like, steal up and then go tiptoe around the ship.
Told you.
I don't know what he was doing. He was just basically freaking out the whole time. And I kept yelling at him, yelling at the screen to, like, they really did some dumb things, all of them actually, I thought. That being said, Sara is formidable and super scary and powerful, obviously. I'm really glad that they were able to pull her back to the land of the living at the end, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that death totem, because I think it was Amaya said that every totem needs a person to wield it. On that note, so excited about Rory getting the fire totem. I love how it happened. I love that he didn't want it. I love that it chose him. I love what it did for him. He's off and on one of my favorite characters. I really like his powers and his origin and how he's come around to becoming sort of a reluctant hero. But the show keeps making him into this drunken oaf. And there's flashes of both, and I really dislike it when they dumb him down, and I really do like it when they build up his character and let him be the funny, sort of badass, heroic guy that he should be, I think. So I hope that brings that about for the show and they keep him on this track, because I really think it's cool when they do let him just be Heatwave and just quit with the passed out, grouchy, drunk guy, because it bothers me. The rest of the episode I thought was great. There was cool special effects, and Sara was terrifying, and the whole, when she was into Mallus's realm and trying to get out and discussing things with, Nora Dark, and kind of just the way Ava and Constantine, those two, by the way, were hilarious with that little jealous love triangle thing. And I like his addition to the show too. But just the whole dynamic of Sara trying to get back out and fighting against her inner self, I think was really kind of a powerful thing for her. I'm sad about her and Ava, though. I hope that does come back around, because I think it's really nice. But I don't know if they're bringing Constantine in as part of her love interest, or I don't know what they're going to do with that. I kind of feel like there's an angle there, so we'll see what happens, I guess. But I do like her and Ava, so I hope they progress the way they should, the way I think they should anyway. I think that's about it. I don't know what else to touch on other than, what do you guys think about their choices when they were tiptoeing around? I don't know. I just really feel like they did some dumb stuff when they were trying to fight against Sara. So anyway, looking forward to the podcast. Talk to you guys next week.
Well,
That was funny.
That was funny. Thank you, Patty Suet. Well, I like she mentioned it a couple times. Sara is terrifying. Yeah, I don't know if we really expressed how well she played that part. I mean, with the black contact lenses and the hair and the ghostly skin, yeah, she was. It was pretty freaky. There were some moments, especially when she was whipping around, like you said, she moved super fast. There was a couple moments there that, like, oof, she's freaky.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. I loved her performance this episode.
Yeah. And I told you, she was mad at Nate.
Yep. Nope. We were too. I had the exact same feeling. I was like, dude, hello. You have steel. Steel up. Come on, man.
I know. So what do you think of her one question, though? Like, do we agree that everybody was kind of making bad decisions throughout that whole situation?
Yeah, definitely. I think they were doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Not like the team was like consciously making bad decisions, but that the writers did that on purpose to kind of, I don't know if it was to show that they truly like need Sara as the captain, or if they were just highlighting it was just the legends being legends, and this time it didn't work out. I don't know, but yeah, no, I definitely think they were making terrible decisions.
Yeah, totally. The one thing I wanted to point out too is that her expression about Rory was actually pretty good. I agree with her too. Like, he can be such a fantastic character, and everybody has fallen for him and his change and his rise to being a good guy and a better person. But every once in a while, they just have him on the show as a drunken idiot. And that kind of lends back to feedback from last week when some of our listeners were just tired of him being the comedy sidekick kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, I mean, but that is part of his character. So if they could maybe write it a little better, that's just, you know, that's just part of, I don't know, not his hobbies, but that's just part of his lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Is drinking and not make it the sole focus, then it might play off a little bit better. But who knows with him wielding the fire totem? Like, does this carry through to the end of the season? Does it carry over to the next season? What's going to happen with all the totems by the time this is all done?
I don't know. I am very curious to see how they're either going to wrap it up or incorporate it in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Amaya's had her totem for several seasons. I mean, because that's part of her character, which makes sense. But now that they've introduced all the others, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see where they go with that. I'm very curious.
Yeah, and okay, so if they all have to give up the totems or they all get destroyed, does that mean Mick loses his new ability? Because that would suck, right? Like, I want to see what he does now, like Patty was saying. So
I know.
Yeah. Oh, well. But thanks as always, Patty. And we have part 2 from Green Butterfly. Here she is.
Hi, Flash and Harley. This is your Iron Sky Green Butterfly again. I thought of something else I really enjoyed in this episode. We got to see Sara a little bit as an assassin, and the memory was sad and hard to watch. This is another example of what I've mentioned before about how I love how they reward watchers of the entire Berlantiverse by showing us these little pieces of character that took place on other shows. Although not exactly. We didn't get to see much of Sara working for Ra's al Ghul, and maybe there's watchers of Legends that never even watched Arrow. And this pain that Sara carries around from when she was carrying out the wishes of Ra's al Ghul is important for us to understand her character. It's part of what makes our captain who she is. So even though I was really sad, I was glad to see this part included. Have a super week. Green Butterfly out.
And there she goes again. See it? But she makes such a really good, strong point there that if you are a fan of all the shows and you watch all of them, you get rewarded for that by these little tidbits they include in our stories. And it just really connects everything so well. And it makes it feel, it's kind of similar to what Marvel's doing with their movies, how they have all these characters all over their Marvel universe and they're all connected by their individual movies, and then they come together for the big Avengers ones, and it feels so in sync with each other. That's what DC is doing right with their TV shows, is they're doing the same kind of thing. And even if you don't watch all of the shows, when you get these little tidbits and you're like, oh, you kind of get this feeling like, I wonder what that's from. Maybe I should go watch that season of Arrow and find out her story. It's great stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love all these little nods that they're doing. And I like that what they're showing us is like sometimes they'll show us scenes that we've already seen just so that it ties everything back, like almost in a flashback format, like they did in when they were in the asylum in the Daddy Darkest episode.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also like what they do here and show us scenes that they've clearly just filmed for this episode that we've never seen, but it's for a purpose, like to flesh out her character. And so I love that they do that. And she's right, it rewards longtime watchers, and that's what we are.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Thank you for that double dose of green butterfly. And thank you, everybody, for your awesome feedback. I'm so glad that people are loving this episode as much as we are. I can't wait to see the end of it and see what you guys think. So if you want to be part of the show, just like these fine folks are, this is how you do it.
If you would like to be part of the show, you can send in feedback to tomorrowslegends@gmail.com, spelled with one R. You can also reach us on Twitter at tomorrowslegends, also with one R. Join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
Well, that wraps it for us this week, Harley.
Oh, it sure does. What an episode. What a ride. Oh, so good.
Oh, so good. Yeah, if this is how the end of our season is going to be like, I am on the edge of my seat with bated anticipation, and I can't wait, and then I'm just already not looking forward to it being over, and we have to wait all summer long till September. It almost makes me despise summer now. Go away. Don't like you.
I know. I can't wait to see how they're going to wrap all this up. I am very, very curious.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, 3 episodes to do it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a fun trip. I'm even just going through this and talking about it tonight, it's got me amped up again. I hate having to wait a week like that. That's the only thing with doing a podcast is you have to watch every week. And sometimes shows are great when you let them build up 3 or 4 episodes and then you binge it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we can't do that. So, yeah, edge of your seat waiting. Anyway, guys, this is The Flash. We'll talk to you in a week. I'm out here.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Find our show in Apple Podcasts, where you can leave a rating and review. We'd love that. You can also find us on Google Play Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher. Please share the show, and thanks for listening.